beautiful girl. Miss Maddie wants to say hello. Hello, beautiful girl. Hi. Oh, look how pretty you are. You're so pretty. Yes, say hello to everybody. Oh, yes, you're a pretty girl. Hi. Very quick vlog today. Well, I say very quick, but you know, my very quick. Just wanted to talk to you about what I'm planning to do for Witchy Wednesdays. Basically, I've had loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of requests to see my Book of Shadows. Now, we don't share our Book of Shadows, okay? We just don't. There are some people who will show you some of it, and I'm happy to share some of it, but not all of it. So, I've got a project going on this year that I thought would be interesting to share with you in a way where I can control how much of my Book of Shadows you see. A little bit of background. I am, well, what we call in the UK a hedge witch. I believe in America the general term is a traditional, eclectic, solitary practitioner. Yeah, I had to look that up. I'm not Wiccan. Wicca is a religion that practices witchcraft. Okay? In the same way that Christianity and Judaism and Islam are all religions that practice prayer. Okay? That's the analogy I'm going to make. Witchcraft is a practice. It is something that you do. Now, a Wiccan has various beliefs, and I'm not going to pretend I know all about Wicca, because I don't. I've read enough to know that it's not for me, because it is a religious practice, and they do believe in a god and a goddess, and good and evil, and like the rule of three, I think. Yes, the threefold law. Everything you give out comes back times 3. Harm none, all that. I'm not Wiccan, I'm a witch. And the difference between the two is that, well, going back to, I suppose to boil it down to the simplest thing, a Wiccan believes in harm none. Do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anyone, including yourself. A witch is a bit more do what needs to be done to get the job done in the best way possible and the most efficient way possible for the good of everybody. So if that means, I don't like to use the term hurting somebody, but you know, doing something that a Wiccan wouldn't do to bring about a certain outcome that is for the good of all, then we will do it. That doesn't mean we go around being nasty to people. That just means we're practical. We do what needs to be done to get the job done. But we adhere to, and it's funny because I just watched a video this morning where Pocketful of Vintage actually said the words, the universal paradox of choice. And I'm like, wow, somebody else has heard of that. Do whatever you have to do for the good of everybody, but accept the fact that there will be consequences. So it's not, for me, whereas a lot of Wiccans, well, all Wiccans are what you give out comes back times 3. So if you put out bad, it'll come back 3 times as bad on you. If you put out good, it comes back 3 times as good on you. For me, that doesn't make any sense. I don't believe in the triple law. I don't believe in a triple goddess. I don't believe in all that kind of stuff, which I'm not 100% certain. Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, is the threefold law to do with the triple goddess, the maid, mother and crone, taking retribution? I seem to remember reading something about that once upon a time. But I don't believe in that. So the best way I can describe it is karma's only a bitch if you are. Okay? You get what you deserve in the way I practice. You know, if you put out bad, you're going to get bad back. And it doesn't matter, you know, there's no, it comes back in threefold or whatever. You know, you put out bad, it comes back at you. karma will come and kick your ass. And that's how we operate. So, for instance, if something needed to be done, let's take a ethical dilemma, because that's always fun. Say a guy is beating up his girlfriend, and that girlfriend's a friend of yours, or even if she's not, it wouldn't matter. My initial instinct would be to go and punch his lights out, but I'm told that's not the correct thing to do anymore. So my next step would be to teach her to punch his lights out. But, you know, given that that can't happen for whatever reason, I would look at all the circumstances and I would judge and balance, kind of a balance of probability, what is going to be the most efficient way to make him stop whatever he's doing to her. And that, you know, that could, I suppose a Wiccan would do a protection spell for her. And maybe an opportunity spell for him to take him away somewhere. Perhaps a new job that makes him leave her. Or something like that. I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm not Wiccan, so I don't know what they do. But assuming that they would take the fluffy route, as I call it, assuming they would take the nice route about it, he might be given an opportunity to work away, which would take him away somewhere else. Or he might have another girlfriend who he's actually going to be nice to, that it's going to work out, he's going to love her to death, and you know. I would not necessarily do that. If that was the best outcome for everybody, then that's what I would do. But if the thing that made him stop, say you could work out, obviously you couldn't, but say you could figure out that, say if something happened to him, that he would realise how badly he was hurting her, and that would make him stop, so they would be happy together, then that would be my course of action. And if that meant that when he went to punch her, she ducked and he punched the wall and broke his arm, then that's what would happen. Now, a Wiccan wouldn't do that because that's hurting him. A witch, you know, we would kick somebody's ass and take the consequences of our actions. Yes, karma would come to kick my butt for doing that, but if that was the best way, or if I genuinely believed that was the best way to bring about the outcome that everybody needed, then that's what I would do. So, yeah, Wicca, harm none, witchcraft, karma's a bitch if you are. So the point of all this is that I want to redo my Book of Shadows this year. Now, there is a reason for this as well. I am a hedge witch. I call a hedge witch because that's what's easy to understand in the UK, but I actually deal with moon magic. Protection, divination, healing, retribution if necessary, but I don't like doing that kind of stuff. Because, you know, karma comes and kicks your ass. But generally anything to do with the moon. The reason for that is I was born at Imbolc on a full moon. And anybody who knows me or knows the Wheel of the Year will know that Imbolc is coming up very soon. And this year there is a new moon on the same date as the full moon was when I was born. Now that doesn't happen very often. Especially this year because the 1st of January was on a new moon as well. So it's a massive time for starting new projects. And I've been thinking about this for the last couple of months, how I could share my Book of Shadows without sharing my Book of Shadows, if you know what I mean. My Book of Shadows at the moment consists of a large A4 book, which, for argument's sake, is about this big, but about twice as thick, which I've had since I was a kid. I started keeping it in 1989-ish, just before I left to go to university, and I went to university in 1990. So 88, 89. It's about 25 years old anyway. You can imagine it's a bit of a mess. For the you know, my inner artist goes ooh when I look at it, because it is a bit of a mess. And it's got stuff in it that is out of date. Some of it is simply, I mean, I actually found a ritual the other day that had something in it that is a banned substance now. Okay, so we got to kind of update stuff. It wasn't an illegal substance. It was just like a chemical that we're no longer allowed to use. It called for something that involved CFCs, and we don't have CFCs anymore. So yeah, it needs updating. It needs renewing. And I've got some new books that I want to transfer some information into. I want to split it up into 3 books. I want to have my main Book of Shadows. And yes, Book of Shadows is a Wiccan term, and I know that. Okay? I use the term Book of Shadows because I don't like the word grimoire. I think it sounds pretentious and awful. Book of Shadows sounds really nice. I like it. And I intend to have... my Book of Shadows will be things that I use regularly. It traditionally is things like rituals, spells, correspondences, that sort of stuff. It's a reference book, basically, for anything that you could need to do stuff. Or if you were, like if a Wiccan was going to teach somebody else their craft or initiate somebody into into Wicca, they would use their Book of Shadows to help them learn. I want to put my Book of Shadows together so that it's a bit more cohesive for me, because at the moment I'm rifling through this A4 book and 2 lever arch folders worth of loose paper, which is both printed and written on, and you know, me tiny writing, large paper, you can imagine. And I'm not particularly tidy or organised either, so it's great fun trying to find something. A lever arch file is about 4 inches thick. It's double the thickness of a 3-ring binder. Okay, and I've got 2 of them. Plus I've got one for all my tarot stuff, plus I've got one for all my astrology stuff, plus I've got one for all my moon magic. Now my moon stuff, there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't need, that I will never use. It's just stuff that I've collected, and you know, you evaluate it and look at it and go, no, I'm not going to use that. But it does need to be gone through and see what needs to be kept. My other 2 folders, my tarot and my astrology, are probably going to stay as they are. I'll just get rid of anything that's like duplicate or things that I don't really need. Sorry, bit of a froggy throat. And my main Book of Shadows, I need to get it down from a big A4 book and 2 lever arch files. I don't mind still having a lever arch file or 2 if I need them for specific things, but I want my main reference information to be in 1 book. So that's what I plan to do. So I'm going to create a Book of Shadows, which is my main reference book, a Book of Mirrors, again a Wiccan term, sometimes known as a Book of Light. This is a journal that's for reflection. Now, obviously, mirrors, reflection. You know, you do something, you cast a spell, you do a ritual, whatever, or you come across something that you need to think about, you evaluate it, and you write down your information in a journal. It's, you know, it's just like anything else. It's kind of like a reflective diary. If any of you have done health practice or teaching or anything like that, it's kind of like a reflective diary on what you're doing. But it's called a Book of Mirrors, which I think is a really pretty name. I love that name. I do that, and I always have done that, but it's always been on bits of paper that I just chucked in my lever arch files somewhere. I guesstimate that at least half of one of those lever arch files is just me waffling about stuff. So I want to get that a bit more cohesive, and I want to start using a proper journal for it. Nothing fancy, it's just going to be somewhere where I can, you know, I can write and I can put stuff in and things like that. I haven't decided yet, but I think, just looking around for it, I can't see it anywhere. I don't know what I've done with it today. It's probably in my room. I think I'm probably going to use my other Midori notebook. I've got another one of these, and I really like using them, and I want to use my green one. I figure that would be good for a Book of Mirrors, because it's basically a journal that I will keep for a while, and I estimate if I filled it up like this, probably the information that I collect or the things I write about, I reckon that one of these would probably last me, or one of these setups, you know, with the notebooks, would last me maybe 6 to 9 months, maybe even longer. because it's not something I do every single day or anything like that. I just do it when I feel like it or I come across something. So I think that would be a good use for my green Book of Shadows, my green Midori, the Ray Dory that Ray Blake made me, which is beautiful. I love it, and I want to use it more. So I have been using it to collect bits and pieces. I tend to cut things out of magazines. Like if I see, there's a lot of surprising amount of witchcraft spells and stuff. A lot of them are Wiccan, but you know that doesn't necessarily change. It changes how you do it. It doesn't change what you use things for. You know, ginger has certain properties, and everybody adheres to that. You know, for instance. But if I see a spell that calls for ginger and uses it in a way that I've not seen it used before, then I will cut that out and I will go and research it and see if it aligns with what I believe. You know, or like if I tend to collect spells that don't include lavender, because I'm highly allergic to lavender. I can't do anything with lavender. It's a nightmare. But because of that, I tend to collect anything I see that doesn't include lavender, because, you know, looking at the different correspondences and the different ingredients and things like that, you can often come up with something that you can replace lavender with in another spell. So it's a bit like, I suppose in a way it's like cooking. You know, you're making something and it calls for peanuts, and you're like, well, I can't make that because we're allergic to peanuts, so I'll use macadamia nuts or something like that. You know, you use your imagination and say, well, what would go with this? Oh, I'll use walnuts for this one because it's a sweet recipe. You know, something like that. It's a similar thing. And in the same way, I collect spells to see different options and different ways of doing things, because in this path you never stop learning. Never. There is always something new to learn. There's a lot out there. And I'm not particularly a herbalist, so whenever I do anything that calls for herbs or oils or anything like that, I have to go and research it. I'm not really into crystals either, so I have to go and research them. So I kind of learn as I go along with things like that. A lot of it is intuition. But like I say, a lot of what I do is moon magic anyway, so, you know, I know my moon. I do have a patron god, goddess, and I do use the god and goddess as figureheads. Now that will probably confuse a few people. Let me explain. In Wicca, they actually believe in gods and goddesses. And, for instance, Luna or Selene is the goddess of the moon, an external force. I don't believe in that. I believe in a force. The Chinese call it the Qi. A force that goes through everything, and it is everything encompassed. It is yin and yang, it's good and bad, it's positive and negative, it's male and female, it's light and dark, you know, and depending on what energies are running through, it could be one or the other, or it could be a shade of grey in between. Wiccans, I believe, or rather, no, I assume from reading the Wiccan Read, that's a tongue twister, the Wiccan Read, which is kind of their, it's like their creed. Part of the Wiccan Read says that you cast a circle to keep out evil spirits. So by which I assume they mean they believe in good and evil. I don't believe in good and evil. I don't believe in heaven and hell. I don't believe in God and the devil. I don't believe in divine retribution, because I don't believe that gods are external forces. For me, the implication that gods are external forces implies that we are pawns, and that doesn't sit well with me. I do believe in an external force, but I believe it is a neutral force that is positive and negative depending on how you use it and what you use it for. And it's up to us to channel it in the correct ways. However, being an Aspie, I find it difficult to concentrate sometimes, and I do love the myths. absolutely love it. Since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with Greek and Roman mythology. I actually studied Roman mythology at university as part of my degree. You know, that's how much I was into it. I devoured every book I could find on Norse mythology and Celtic goddesses and absolutely everything. I love the stories. Now the point is, for me, they're not real people who used to exist. They are myths, and they were created to explain things that at the time man couldn't explain. So, you know, Apollo riding his chariot across the sky explained how come the sun rose and set every day on the same course. You know, it had to be controlled by something. Oh, there must be a god up there in a little chariot. What would this god look like? Well, he'd be beautiful with flame hair and you know, and so on. Myths are there to help you explain things and to help you focus on things. And I do use that personification idea. So I do use the personification of the male and female in the form of the god and goddess. But it is a personification. I don't believe in the god and goddess existing. It's just a way of personifying it so that you can focus on it. It's a bit like praying to Lady Luck. Alright, that's the best analogy I can make. Now because of that I draw from every mythos there is. And I don't mean to offend anyone by making out that their religion is a myth, okay? That's how I see everything. Anything to do with gods or external forces or anything like that, I view it as a myth. So, yeah, that includes the Bible. Which actually, if you've never read the Bible, go and read it. It's a fantastic story. You don't have to suddenly turn Christian just because you've read the Bible. You can read the Bible as a book or as a mythology, and it is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. To me, it's just as fascinating as reading, you know, the Norse story of creation or anything like that. But that's how I view it. And like I say, that's not meant to offend anyone. That's just how I believe, how I see it. I don't believe in what you believe. That's how it is. In the same way that if you believe in the god and goddess or Jesus or whatever, then, you know, you're not offending me. That's what you believe. In a similar way, I also use, because I do moon magic, I use a personification of the moon, Luna or Selene. Selene is the Greek name, Luna is the Roman name, and she predates Diana as the goddess of the moon. I use it purely as a focal point. It's always easier to talk to someone than it is to pretend you're, or not pretend, but put things out there. Let me use an analogy for vloggers amongst you, okay? If you look at the screen and you talk to yourself on the screen as if you're a viewer, it's a heck of a lot easier to do a vlog and talk about stuff than it is if you are very self-conscious and thinking, oh, I'm sat here talking to myself and it's being recorded and I'm going to look like an idiot. It takes away that level of I'm sat here talking to myself in a room and helps you focus on what you're actually trying to do and to focus the energies, because it's very important, obviously, when you're doing stuff like I do, to make sure that you get it right. You know, there is a little room for error, but not a lot, which is why we have books of shadows and things, so that we can research stuff before we even go down that path. So yeah, what I want to do is redo my Book of Shadows. I'm not going to be teaching witchcraft. I will give you some guidance. You know, I'm not Wiccan. I've said that a few times. I'm not Wiccan, but I do know somebody who is. Kelly Donovan. If you go to her channel, I'll put a link below. She's actually started doing private sessions with people to give them an idea of what they could use their books for. That includes Wiccans wanting to know what to put in their Book of Shadows, their actual Book of Shadows. But other people who want to create a nice book but don't quite know what to use it for or how it might apply to them, you can use these books for anything. Maybe you want to make a book of the Psalms. because you love the books of the Psalms. Maybe you want to use it for general Bible study, and you want to do a specific thing every week or something like that. Maybe you just want to collect poetry and quotes. Maybe you want to do a book of angels. You know, it's entirely up to you what you use these books for. But there's no reason why you can't use the same techniques in your books. And what I want to do, obviously, you know, what witch doesn't want a cool spell book? And I looked around YouTube and I saw lots of Charmed books. You know, the books from Charmed with made-up demons in them. I found, oh look, I've got a book like the one from Practical Magic. You know, the one with the two-fold thing where it's got a cool section at the back. Well, the cool section at the back is quite cool, but very impractical. And then there was not an awful lot else. There was a lot of people doing very ornate things. I did find one girl who's got a beautiful book, and when we come to actually looking at books and looking at techniques, I will link to her. She had a beautiful book and using such simple techniques. She was just literally adding texture with tissue paper and then painting it brown. And then, you know, adding bits to the page, almost like a scrapbook. It's absolutely gorgeous. A bit too messy for me, not really my kind of thing, but I do want to create a book that looks really cool. Now, depending on how you want to do this, if you want to use a book, fine, use a book. Follow along. It's up to you what you put in it, but I will show you some techniques every week. Pocketful of Vintage, Marianne. She is doing a series at the moment called 1 Week a Month, and it's basically collecting lots of cool stuff in a box. I think it's like an memorabilia box, but journaling as well. And I haven't watched the whole video, but it's really cool. I've seen the starter videos, and I saw the first half of the first video, and I just thought, oh wow, that's awesome. So go and look her up as well. I'll put the link below for that. Pocketful of Vintage, go and check out her 1 Week a Month, because you'll pick bits up from there. I actually even considered using a box to put bits in, and I may still, because obviously my Book of Mirrors is going to be my Midori. It's going to have all these little books, and I may just have a series of books and a box where I keep things in. I might do that as well. That's her idea. Go and follow her and subscribe. She's doing it, I think, 1 week a month. I think that's the clues in the name. Oh, Miss Maddie. Miss Maddie's tired and sleepy. But it looks really cool. I'm going to watch her videos a bit more closely and see exactly what she's doing. And I may create my own little box, which of course I'll show you. I'm not going to show you how to make it. You go and follow her. But I will. I've got a box that would be suitable for that, and it might be a nice place to keep my book's shadows and things. In fact, the more I talk about it, the more I like the idea. So I may do that, and I'm doing it as a year project, like a little bit every week. I don't want to take on yet another daily project. Hopefully I will do a video every week. Next week I'm going to show you what I've currently got and what I'm trying to work towards. And in the meantime, Maddie, don't be naughty. In the meantime, I will try and figure out whether I want to do the box thing and how I'm going to do it, and hopefully update you on that. Go and watch Marianne's videos. Go and talk to Kelly if you're Wiccan or you're unsure how you could use one of these books. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think Kelly's doing bits and pieces as well. She's not doing a full series, but she did a video the other day on painting your goddess. I don't think she meant it in necessarily a Wiccan way of painting your goddess, although you could do it like that. I think she meant painting your inner goddess kind of thing. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't watched the video. I just talked to her last night. I'm sadly lacking and behind on people's videos. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what I'm aiming to do. Over the next year, make a really cool book and put all the stuff that I want to put in it, and you can play along if you want to. It doesn't have to be a book. You could use an album, you could use loose leaf paper and bind it afterwards, you could do whatever you want. You could use the box technique that Marianne's using. You could use Midoris and file them. Whatever you want to do, it's fine. But, you know, we will look at a few different techniques like aging paper and, you know, looking after dip pens and all that kind of stuff that you can't just generally pick up here and there, but that is really useful to know. So yeah, if you want to join me, we do have a Facebook group. I'll put the link down there again. But if you go to Facebook groups /Witchy Wednesdays, you will find a Facebook group. It's a closed group, you have to be approved. And I won't just let absolutely anybody in. So if you don't get approval straight away, look for a message from me. Because I don't just want any old Tom, Dick or Harry wandering in. And I certainly don't want any drama. I am a drama-free zone. Don't bring it to my door, because I'll just block you and kick you out of group. The end. That's it. That's what we're going to do. So next week is... what's the date next week? I don't even know what the date is next week. Is it my birthday? Yes, it is! It's my birthday next week. Yay! So... my birthday next week, I'm actually going away. So I will do a video in advance, just showing you my books and what I've got now and what I'm trying to achieve, and giving you a few links for things to go and have a look at that is the kind of thing that I have in mind for what I want to do. And then after that we will get started for Imulk, getting things together and doing what we want to do. So, you know, if you fancy playing along, find a book, find a journal, use an old textbook, whatever you want to do, and come and join me every Wednesday. And hopefully, later in the year, I'm trying to wrap this up because it's getting a bit long, later in the year I'm hoping to do a couple of live classes, a bit like Wing It Wednesday, but for my Book of Shadows, because Wing It Wednesdays I've been asked for again a lot. I would like to do them, but I'm doing a day class, an everyday class when frogs sing, and there is something for it every single day. It's a big job. Even working ahead of myself, it's a big job. So, you know, I can't just assume that every Wednesday I will have time to do a 3-hour show. However, later in the year, when I've got a little bit more time left, I would like to do the occasional live show to show you where I'm up to and show you what I'm doing and all that kind of thing. So yeah, come along and play if you want to. There is a playlist on my channel for all of these Witchy Wednesday things. They will all go in together, so if you want to just follow that playlist, you can do. Just go to the playlist, click on play all, and then add to favourites. That's all you have to do. And it will automatically add those new videos to your favourites. It won't come up in your subscription feed unless you subscribe. Please subscribe. I like it when people subscribe. I don't really care if you subscribe or not. It's just, it's a numbers game. I don't care. But it is nice to see the numbers going up, I have to admit. And obviously you will get straight away a thing telling you, oh look, there's a new video, as soon as the videos go live. And I do schedule some of my videos in advance, so even while I'm away there will be the odd video going up, and I'm hoping to vlog while I'm away as well. So yeah, come and play, it's going to be fun. I will leave it there because this vlog is horrendously long, but you know, I haven't vlogged in quite a while, so the reason for that is that I had a tooth out. A big tooth up here, which is why my face is all swollen and my eye is all swollen, and I can't talk properly outside that side of my mouth. I'm all That's as far as I go with Elvis impressions. That's it. That's all you're getting. I will see you next week. Bye.